Hi there, welcome to Gnostic Vlog Confessio number 8. And in this presentation, I wanted to just jot down a couple of ideas about living. Gnosticism doesn't mean rejection of life as we know it in this world. And this little presentation, I suppose, is evidence of that. We're not so rejecting of reality as all that, but I'll come on to that in a minute. So that concerns the past, the future, and the present. And, one of the things that I've had to battle with all my life, really, is this letting go of the past through active forgiveness, because, I found that building up thought patterns of resentment, anger, rage, blame, self-blame, and a harsh, unforgiving attitude to myself and other people and to circumstances. And although there's a kind of there's a spark of truth that lies within that statement, though, about circumstances, the world as it is. But all this, all this resentment and patterns of self-destructive thought, it's where I am today. It's resulted in me being on Prozac and Tegretol because I can't. When I was young, I used to be able to handle these negative thoughts, and now as I turn 60, I can't handle them anymore. And so I've got battened down or nailed to a cross of suffering, which is of my own device, really. But it is as it is, and now at this age of mine, I'm now, the chickens have come home to roost, sort of thing. And you reap what you sow, really. And I didn't take enough notice of all the help that I was given when I was younger, and all the cautions about building up negative thought patterns and where that would eventually lead. I didn't take any notice of it. I thought that's not going to happen to me, and it actually has happened to me. So on this quadrant, this part of the pentagram of fire. The fire of forgiveness is more than the fire of rage. And over time, you have to actively forgive. It's the only logical way forward. It's the only way to. You've got to let it go. You've got to let life go as well. You've got to resist resistance. You've got to, as I say, breathe out and let it go. Let go of the pain of the past, let go of all this negativity, and so I put that under fire because it's the fire of non-forgiveness that burns up everything else, that takes energy away from all these other three or four points on the pentagram, which are necessary for a good life. And then I was thinking about the other thing that I don't really do. I don't prioritize in life. I have a warped sense of priorities, and I just randomly sort of try and do things, and I don't have a list of priorities, and I don't have a list of priorities beginning with the most urgent and ending with the least urgent. So I tend to do the least urgent priority first, and then leave the most urgent priority to last. And that, of course, just creates a massive amount of stress, the residue of which then becomes anger and resentment, which lands me back in the fire. So Earth is to tend to the practical reality of living on this planet, and in this dimension. And you have to attend to the practical priorities of life, and actually sit down with a pen and paper and actually try to make a list of what really, really needs doing and what really, really needs leaving alone. Because you've only got limited resources in this world, And if you spend all your limited resources on things which have no priority, then you're just going to, you're making a stick to beat your own back with, So then we go on to air, and this is very interesting. We have worries about the future all the time, and they are and they are not valid. I mean, but there are some things which you should worry about. But often with neurotic people like me, I don't worry about the things I should worry about, and I worry about the things which actually I shouldn't worry about. But instead of worrying, one should be prepared, and you should prepare yourself for certain eventualities, such as illness, death in the family, loss of resources, loss of job, for example. And I mean, it's not a matter of just taking out insurance policies, although financially that is a good idea, because especially if you have pets, I mean, the vet's bills are mad, So if you don't have health insurance for your pets as well as for yourself, you're asking for mad financial stress there. But it's not a matter of paying out insurance premiums, because they're a bit of a cod as well, really, aren't they? I mean, you pay a highly for premiums, and then you still have to pay a certain amount of vet's bill anyway. So the whole insurance business is a bit of a con trick, really. So I mean, it's not something to get kind of flustered about, but it's something that you should try to get the best policy that you possibly can, and be prepared. As I say, make a list of eventualities. And instead of worrying about them, you make preparations for them, not on the basis of what if all the time, but if this happens, then I will do this, this, and this. That's kind of the algorithm that you want to develop. And I think that's a good idea, just generally. And it reduces stress and worry, which again reduces the fire aspect of resentment and anger. And you're not angry with yourself because you sort of feel unprepared about something, but you don't know what it is. So you need to identify what it is that you should be prepared for. But realizing, of course, that in this life you can't be prepared for everything. So then we go on to finally the water aspect of this, which is to enjoy the present, and even the moment, go into bliss, cultivate enjoyment. As I said before, not looking too much ahead in the future. I mean, attending to your creativity or your obligations in the now, in the present, be present, sort of thing. And emotionally, you are more in the present than in the past or the future. I mean, on the side of air is just intellect. Without emotion, you should prepare for certain eventualities. But you should, you people say don't do emotions. Well, I think what it is really is that you shouldn't focus on emotions which are concerned or connected with the future or the past. You should only do emotions which are part of the present, enjoyment, part of the present, and the moment. So that's how far your emotions should go. Once you start throwing your emotion forwards in time or backwards in time, this is as far as I'm concerned, this is where the trouble begins. And you begin to ruminate on the past or ruminate on worries about the future. And then you're no longer enjoying the present, of course. And then it becomes a negative situation rather than a positive one. So finally we come to spirit, which is the topmost part of the pentagram. And that's what I call realization. This is a spiritual realization, I suppose, which can be of great comfort. And I've got over here that one day we will awake from this dream. This reality as we know it is illusion at best and delusion at worst. And it is a dream. It has the quality of a dream, even though you might say to me, well, you have pain and pleasure and physical sensations of all kinds, which doesn't seem to be very dreamlike to me. It's pretty seems pretty real to me. But some dreams can be so lucid that you can even experience pain in the dream. And the idea is that if this is a dream, then it's just a very lucid dream. It's just a dream that you're so wrapped up in that your body gives you physical sensations, supposedly from the outside. But from this outside, which is really a dream state, you will one day awake into the ultimate reality of the ineffable. And I suppose what goes with that, the other side of this is that ultimately this world is not worth anything. This world is illusory, a part of the delusion of ego, and therefore I say ultimately it's not worth anything. That is a stress on the word ultimately, because even though you might say, doesn't matter, need not be, and you could say to me, well, starvation in the world need not be, and various things that are going wrong in the world need not be, and I can make a difference in my neighbourhood and with my own self and my own family, even if I can't make much of a difference in the world, and that's for a separate discussion, really. Ultimately, the world is not worth it. It's not going to be here. It's going to be here for a very long time. But as far as you're concerned, it's not going to be here more than, if you're lucky, 70 years. So, is it worth it for you? And if future persons have no moral ontology, is their fortune or good fortune or bad fortune your concern anyway? That's debatable, you see, and dare to debate that within yourself as well and with other people. In any case, you might be in this dream and you might have physical sensations, but you are not those physical sensations. You are soul. I am. I may be in this world, but I'm not of this world. So I may get ow when I stub my toe, but I'm ultimately not of this world. Although I'm in this world, so you are practical. You have practical energy, as Steiner would say. You develop practical energy on one hand, rather than apathy and escapism on the other. But ultimately, I am soul. I'm not this body. I'm not this headache. I'm not this fear. If you have fear. But on the other hand, there is help which comes from the transcendent realm. And this help comes in all shapes and sizes. It comes when you most need it, rather than when you want it. It doesn't come because you want it to come. It'll come because it thinks that you need help. So don't call them; they'll call you, sort of thing. So this isn't magic. This isn't kind of summoning some spirit to help you. This is waiting patiently for the help to come and trusting that it will. And that trust is also comforting. It's also a source of spiritual power as well. Lastly and finally, perhaps most importantly of all, is it isn't just a passive thing. You have a certain obligation to spread the good spell, the gospel of the Gnosis, to spread the idea of Gnosis to all those who have ears to hear, and who are ready to receive the information that you may want to impart. And you can spread this message, this good spell, in any way you like, musically, artistically, in literature, in the novel, in plays, stories, oral or written down. Pretty much any artistic medium will do. You spread the good spell as you understand it, and you trust that you understand sufficient of it to be able to transmit the knowledge in a form that people can understand on one hand and is accurate on the other. And you should trust that your understanding of Gnosis is what it is, and is of the light and is transcendent in its qualities, and therefore is of genuine help to other people. So with these realizations, and with these obligation to attend to practical items on the earth plane, without emotion, think about preparing for certain eventualities which may be or which are inevitable, and also to enjoy emotionally the now rather than the future and the past, but to let go sufficiently of the past in order to enjoy the present, and let go of worry and fear of the future, but also primarily to let go of resentment and anger about the past, whether you've let yourself down or you've let other people down, or they have let you down, or the community has let you down, or the government or the system, whatever. There's always people letting you down, and you're always going to let yourself down, and as you judge yourself. But you've really, really got to actively let go of any feelings of resentment and blame, which may rise up. They rise up like the breath, and they fall away if you breathe through these negative thoughts. However, as I said to you before, all this is pretty theoretical from my point of view, because I haven't really applied any of this to my own life. I wouldn't be a confession or a Gnostic Vlog if I didn't say that. I haven't. I applied it a little bit some of the time, but I haven't been consistent. It's like learning the piano. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep, exercising the muscles that you want to exercise in life. You've got to keep practicing what you preach, really, because if you don't have consistency, you're going to come unstuck. Okay, everybody, takes a holiday from what they should be doing and goes a bit crazy, whatever. And that craziness can sometimes be really creative, I'm not saying. But you should try to practice the contents of this pentagram, and you should try to look 5 ways, if you can be at the center of this pentagram, and look 5 ways, and keep the light coming in 5 directions, and keep your light going out in 5 directions. Then it's possible to get through this existence without being torn apart by it, because that's the biggest thing. Can we be in this world, but not of this world? Because if we're of this world, we're going to get torn apart by it before we actually do get torn apart by it. I mean, obviously, individually, we all have our apocalypse to face, obviously. But do we have to have an apocalypse now or nowish? Could we not, attend to this pentagram of life with equanimity, and to attend to each point equally, and try to make the best of this existence, and the best in terms of ultimately coming down to enjoying the moment of this existence, each moment as it passes. We will try to enjoy it, and try to prepare to enjoy it, and try to ensure that we can enjoy each moment as it passes, before we attend or go in to eternity itself.